Hey you! Have you ever wanted to build better? Well, I have just the class for you. Do you want to be able to build your house something kinda like this? I know it's not much, but this is my survival world and we only just got started a little while ago. Don't mind those villagers on there. They're having a party. But if you all want to be able to build something like this, I have 10 tips on how to build better. The video ended up getting too long, so I'm cutting this into 2 separate parts right now, so I have 5 tips on how to build better. So anyways, let's go ahead and get started, and y'all can come build with me. Let's do this. Let's start off with tip number 1. The first thing you want to think about are your custom trees in your world. Do your trees look like this? Well, maybe try thinking about upgrading to custom trees. Not only do they make the world feel, well, bigger, because look at this. If I'm standing right here, I am about half as tall as this tree. However, when I'm standing in front of my tree, look at this. This thing is huge. When I'm looking up at it, I feel like this world is bigger than it really is. Well, I mean, the world's infinite, but like, you know, well, not infinite, but when it comes to building trees, you don't really need to. It's only an option if you have the time and patience to do it, because sometimes it can take a long time, anywhere between 5 and 10, sometimes even half an hour. Whereas with normal trees, you could probably get them down in less than 30 seconds. So it's really a matter of preference more than anything. If you want to put more time and effort, custom trees are definitely the way to go. But the old reliable trees here, they work just as well. Use them as you please. Tip number 2, we need a little bit of life in our lives, so why don't we go ahead and bring in some foliage? For example, look at this area here. It's covered in a bunch of grass. Grass and foliage, they help make an area look cool. Like, that's what you do with those trees. It helps make an area look cool. Now compared to this area here, which is completely naked.
Oh, stop looking, you're making me blush.
So one thing you can do is just go around with some bone meal, come through and just spam it like this. When you look at this, sometimes people are like, okay, that's good enough, I like it. But for me, I'm a little bit more picky. I get rid of some tall grass, I get rid of some of the normal grass, because I want to make sure that this area is built the exact way I want it. But now this is back to like what you would expect around here, right? Yes. But now you can keep adding on. Like, we can add in some different variations of grass, like the nether sprouts. Boom, look at that. We added a little bit of color into this area. And one thing you can do to make it seem a little bit more realistic is to put it into patches. Patches are how plants usually grow because seeds will spread out from a singular area in like, I guess, a circle in a way. So if they're in patches, it makes more sense. Not only that, but you can also add flowers, like some poppies. Look at this. Similar to the grass, they also grow in patches, so you can just go around like ba-ba-ba-bum-bum, ba-ba-da-bum-bum-bum-bum. Look at that. With flowers like this, you add a bunch of color into the area. Now it's not just a bunch of green. We added blue, we added reds. And just for a little bit of extra stuff, you can even add in some special flowers. Boom. Look at that. Suddenly this area is much nicer. One other kind of foliage you can do is just with some bushes. This can be used along paths to... One second. Bushes can be used to help, I guess, form a path. Basically, if you don't want people to stray off the path, you can go ahead and just bum 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 bum. Suddenly people are like, okay, maybe I'm not supposed to stray off the path here. It helps to focus your viewers' attention onto the path. Like, look at this. Suddenly they're going to want to go up the path this way. Boom, look at that. Foliage. Foliage does wonders. Tip number 3, terrain. Look at those trees over there. They look amazing from this distance because they're up upon a hill. If they were just flat up here, let's say we go up to this point and we just had flat land all the way over here, suddenly it wouldn't look as amazing. So terraining is very important to think about. Do you want your builds to look tall, intimidating, or cute? I don't know. Like, depending on your answer, something like this may not look good here, and it might look better up there. And sometimes in your world, there's going to be a bunch of world generation that's kind of like this. Weak. We don't like this. Well, unless you do, then I guess we like it, but I personally don't, so terraining is important because we can go ahead and just fill up these areas and forget they even existed. Of course, one of my biggest recommendations is to build your base idea and have it be based on the terrain itself. Because sometimes you can get more inspiration from having to work off of something rather than creating something completely on your own. Of course, it's a matter of perception, and also a matter of what kind of build you're working on. If it's something that requires your own specific terrain, go for it. If it's something that can go anywhere, try fitting your builds into terrain. Because like, if I were to, ooh, that's a really big hole. Yeah, for example, if I were here, I'd probably build like a small little wall around here so people don't fall. I might build in some, I don't know, some cranes so people can get up and down. Well, get items up and down, and maybe like an elevator thing to get up and down. Over here, I might have a staircase going up. This could be like the mayor's house or something, so we can overlook this entire area. Terraining has a big impact on the way you build. Because if I were to look at this area, I don't think it looks that good. I'd probably change it up to make it look better. And with a little bit of simple terraining, we have ourselves a much nicer, cleaner area. In addition to terraining, we can also add in things like rocks. For example, I could just add in a rock here and make it look like a more rocky terrain. I talked for like 3 minutes here about whether or not rocks would actually fit into your city or whatever it is, but I don't think it's necessary, so I'm just gonna skip that. So think about that. Yep. Tip number 4, plan ahead. For example, these paths here, they were leading up to ideas that we were going to have. For example, this block right here was point B and this is point C. I forgot to record like an idiot, so I did some stuff here. But yeah, you can just take some wool or some blocks to plan things out. Like this path right here leads up to an entrance, and this entrance can lead up into a house. Everything can be as simple as just starting off with a square or a rectangle, because everything in Minecraft is, well, a cube. That's it. So just start basing your shapes off of it and start adding things on. For example, this bottom floor here will probably somehow lead up to a second floor right here, where I put up a roof, which is going to go up to, let's say, around here, right? And I don't know, maybe there was going to be a tower right about here, which goes up to this high, and there's going to be a roof that goes this high, right? Maybe if y'all can imagine what that's going to look like, that's what I have planned here, right? And then over here, we can even use a different color wool to represent, one second. We can even use a different color wool over here to represent a different kind of building. Like this is a restaurant, but that's residential. Or we can even use something simple like stone, cobblestone, dirt, or whatever kind of blocks you have on hand. Because wool is just kind of a luxury item. I like to just use stone or cobblestone or whatever. I feel like wool is just too much work for me, at least. It's nice to see, but it's easy enough for me to see this kind of stuff. I like to work on one build at a time. If you want to say, oh, I'm going to put a custom tree, I don't know, here. I just place down like a little log or something. Let's say you want to put a pond here. You can just be like, boom. Pond. And look, suddenly I know, oh, there's going to be a pond right here. By labeling things, you help keep yourself organized. And by staying organized, you keep yourself motivated to keep building something new because you know exactly what you're going to be building next. So you can keep planning things out ahead of time so you don't have to be so stressed about the fact that, oh, I have to worry about this later. I'm also not the type to plan things out in creative. You can do that too. You can build a whole thing in creative and be like, Lightmatica or pictures and whatever, and be like, okay, now I gotta place it block by block in my survival world. Right? Yeah, that takes too long for me. So I'm the type to do things on the fly. I just did all of this on the fly just now, and I do the same kind of things in my survival worlds. Another thing you want to think about in your world is the pathway. Because in survival, you're gonna be walking around on foot a lot of the time, right? You don't want to be walking on people's grass like a vandal, right? You want to be able to walk on paths. And paths are awesome because they help you connect a world around Paths are awesome because they allow you to connect a world all around because, look at this. Let's say we have point A here, and we have point B over here. But then we have point C that's all the way out here. And you're just over here like, okay, I'm at point A, and I know how to get to point B, but where's point C? Because you don't have any indicator of where point C could be. So if you were to add in like another path over this way, where did I put it? Oh, it's right here. You could be like, oh, look, now I suddenly know how to get from point A to both point B and point C. It helps make a world feel more connected. This is a terrible path. I can't get up. Okay. Whew. I'm up. If you want to make a good path, suddenly you're going to have the incentive to be like, oh, I have a general idea of where my path is going to go. So why don't I just go ahead and restructure my terrain so that it's easier to climb up. This is so much easier to climb up than the previous one. Look at that. We didn't have to struggle at all. However, if you don't like the look of path blocks. Another thing you can do is change out path blocks after you've placed the path blocks. So depending on the kind of build you're going for, the type of path will also vary. So look, this is more of like I'd say this is more like a countryside path, while this is more of a city, like medieval city kind of path. So again, it's up to you to decide whether or not you want to go through the trouble of doing this. This helps connect the theme of the world into a singular thing, and helps connect your world all together. On to the next one! Like I said, I only have 5 tips for today's episode because if I put in all 10 of the tips I had originally planned, this episode would be about 20 minutes long, and I don't have the time to edit that right now, so let's save that for another week. Anyways, thank you for watching, and of course, have a good one.